turns out there was not one knife attack at the weekend that was brought down by armed police. There was actually two. Obviously, the one that's getting all the headlines is the horrific incident in Huntingdon, which I covered last night just before retiring for the evening. However, today I've stumbled across a second one, obviously not with the devastation caused by the first one, but still a very serious incident nonetheless. And this one happened in Faversham. And I'll just show you the video that I got from Kent Online, which is one of only two outlets, and local outlets at that, that are even mentioning this other attack. So what you saw there was a knife man and some armed police who were responding to an incident in Faversham on Friday. And Kent Online covered the story. I'll put a link at the bottom of the description for those that want to read more about it. Dramatic footage shows armed police chasing a man out of a housing estate after reports he was making threats to kill. At least 10 officers were seen arresting a suspect in Davington, Faversham last night. Footage sent to Kent Online by business Lottie's Flowers shows police initially trying to gain access to a block of flats at Breamedon shortly after 8:30 p.m. A man can then be seen leaving the estate and running towards the junction with Western Link in the direction of Sainsbury's, with his hands above his head. Two officers with guns then apprehend the suspect, shouting, "Stay there, armed police, get down on the floor." A further 7 officers arrive, followed by dog handlers, and a police car pulls up before the man is detained. Kent police have now confirmed a man in his 20s has been arrested on suspicion of several offences following the incident, which saw 2 knives recovered from the scene. A spokesperson for the force said Kent police was called just after 8:30 p.m. on Friday to reports of a disturbance at a property in Breamedon. It was reported that a man was making threats and was in possession of a knife. Officers attended and arrested a 25-year-old man on suspicion of attempted grievous bodily harm, threats to kill and possession of a knife. He was also arrested in suspicion of criminal damage relating to damage to a police vehicle. Police say the suspect remains in custody. So that was Kent Online. The only other reference I could find about this horrific incident for the local community was in Kent Local News, who covered it with almost the same detail. I'm just trying to have a wee look. They're saying that there was apparently another instance not so long ago in the same area, again with knives. And I think what's evidently clear here is we have a knife problem in the United Kingdom, but yet despite the murder of a man out walking his dog almost a week ago, our government have still made no comment on that. They've obviously made no comment on this one. They have obviously made comments on the train attack last night, because obviously the amount of people injured. But the one last week, there was a death in that and nobody's doing anything about it. And this is something I've been saying since Southport. Southport would have been the time for the government to have a big clampdown on knife crime and knife culture in the United Kingdom. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I also highlighted that at the end of the Tories' role in government, they'd put in place an amnesty for machete-type knives, Rambo-type knives, that sort of stuff. Not one mention from the Tory government, although the amnesty was taking place during their new tenure. They done and said nothing about it. Now, you would imagine with such a big thing of importance that was just about to happen not long after Southport, this amnesty for machete-type knives, it would have been the perfect time for the Labour government to say something about knife crime. Nothing. Not a word. I believe they had some meeting with Idris Elba to highlight some charity or something he was involved in. But not one mention of the government's already in place amnesty for people with large knives. They were actually paying people to destroy their knives or deposit their knives, and they would then be destroyed. The government never told you that. I spoke about it on a few videos, which was far more than any other government. And when media and the government totally ignore things like this and the horrific murder a week ago of a man out walking his dog and another two injured, another adult male and a 14 or a 15-year-old boy injured, the government make no comment whatsoever, then it makes me question their intentions and their priorities. This is a serious, serious problem. And you'll note I made no mention of skin colour, ethnicity, nationality, race, colour, creed or religion of anybody. But the government don't want to talk about it regardless. And it's really, really concerning. The other thing I find concerning is these crimes have happened and not one person's been named. Yet through my own experience, I was arrested for a non-violent crime, which I dispute, and I'm due to court on Friday to plead guilty or not guilty to. But my name was in the newspaper about 24 hours after my arrest. And I didn't give a report on my number. Somebody did. Behind me is Glasgow Sheriff Court, one of Europe's busiest courts. And because of that fact, we'll see every week several members of the public and podcasters, etc., facing trials in here for a number of things. However, an increasing number are for posts on social media, videos on YouTube, etc., etc., etc. And for that reason and that reason alone, I believe it would make sense for everybody who does podcasts as a minimum to join the Free Speech Union, because they will help protect you when the law turns on you. That doesn't give you carte blanche to say what you want as a member, but it does give you the protection to help you when the law goes wrong. This is not now only something that should be considered by podcasters, because we are seeing more and more people each day arrested. Normal people who don't even see themselves as civilian journalists, arrested for posts on social media. So it makes sense to join the Free Speech Union, because we live in this country in 2025. But in these instances, we're not allowed. And what we're told is that it's normal that you don't name a suspect until at least they go to court and plea. I was arrested 5 months ago. I've never made a single plea yet. I'm on to my 4th date to entitle me to do that. But my name's in the paper. Yet time and time again we see people commit the most heinous of crimes when all the footage is already out there, and we don't hear their details until they go to court and they're presented with their charges. And it concerns me about who makes the decisions on who does and who doesn't get named, which ones are in the public interest and what ones are not. Now, to be honest with you, my alleged crime is getting nothing like the importance and the significance to these ones. Yet, nobody names these people. And it makes you wonder if there's a strategy behind this, or some sort of reasoning why some criminals, or alleged criminals, are not named, why others are quite happy to be named, or sorry, those in charge are quite happy to name them, and put their names all over newspapers in the United Kingdom. That's pretty bonkers to me. But back to point, yet another crime, yet another community having its second recent incident similar to this, and nobody's talking about it. And I find that most peculiar. When you do see some really odd things reported in newspapers, happily name those alleged to have committed crimes, suspects, as you would imagine, and what they're actually, or what, in some instances, not even what they're charged with some cute writing would suggest that they've done stuff that were not even charged with. Yet in other instances, we get the most basic of knowledge, like a 25-year-old man. It's bonkers. If you want others to see this, click the thumbs up, hit the comments, hit the share. If you've not already done so, or you think you have, but double check that you've hit the subscribe button, because some people are suggesting to me that they find after a certain amount of time that they've been unsubscribed to the channel. But more important than all that, unless you're the type of person that wants to cause carnage, fear, distress on the streets of the United Kingdom, not you. But everyone else, have a great day. Cheerio, bye now.